Welcome back, students. Master Spleen in the building. We are the 1st of March, beginning of the month, means a new Silph Cup. So following the Meta Simplified guide that we just uploaded last week on the Vortex Cup, it's time to go back to our famous meta deep dive, analyzing types by types, the different matchups in order to help you build a consistent team of 6 and be successful throughout the months. The first meta deep dive will focus on the fighters, the electric types, and the grass types. First, we are going to study the fighters. So basically it's going to be Toxicroak, Blaziken, Machoke, and Primeape. So how does they just do between them? You know, what is the best fighter against the other fighters? Here you don't have a clear answer because it's a bit mixed up. What does I mean? Blaziken is the one that is going to lose against all the other fighters. For the rest, it's, let's say, more complicated. First of all, you have Toxicroak. Toxicroak will be able to pick up Blaziken and to pick up Machoke. Machoke will pick up Blaziken as well, and with Primeape, it's an IV based matchup. But if you have a very good PvP IV Machoke, you are able to flip this matchup. And Primeape is able, thanks to the close combat nuke, to pick up Blaziken and Toxicroak. Then you have a question, is there a fighter that can just beat all the other fighters? Yes, there is one. It's Shadow Machoke. So if you have a Shadow Machoke and you want to beat all the other fighters, run it. That's my first advice here. So how the fighters are going to do against the grass type. So here against the Venusaur and against the Ferrothorn. Clearly you can see that both Toxicroak and Blaziken are able to beat Venusaur and Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn, thanks to the counter damage, and it's going to lose against all the fighters. And Venusaur, with the Toxicroak, you need to land the Sludge Bomb, and with the Blaziken, you just can go straight Blaze Kick to seal the win. On the other side, Machoke and Primeape are going to lose against the Venusaur because those counters and those fighting moves are resisted. Against the electric types, it's basically you have, let's say, all the fighters are going to beat Magneton, because Magneton is part steel as well, so counter are super effective against Magneton. They are for Toxicroak, you are going to lose against Galvantula and against Raichu. For Blaziken, you are able to pick up the Galvantula thanks to the fire to the Blaze Kick, but you lose against the Raichu if he lands the White Chart Nuke. Machoke is going to lose against Galvantula and Raichu. And for Primeape, you are going to be able to pick up the Raichu. And for the Galvantula, it's an IV based matchup. If let's say that you lose to Ice Stat Galvantula, but Primeape can, if you win CMP and you bait correctly, you are able to beat a non-optimal, let's say, Galvantula. If the Galvantula is an attack-weighted one, which you could see because the attack-weighted Galvantula can pick the Blaziken, then you are going to lose because Galvantula will win CMP against the Primeape. Against the ice types, here clearly basically all the counter users are going to beat Cilio and Lapras and Dugong because the counters are doing super effective, and they are all going to lose against Frostlass thanks to the ghost type move of Frostlass, except for Blaziken that has this Blaze Kick and then that just can go straight Blaze Kick and pick up the win. Against the flying types, but not where we can expect fighters to really shine against flying types. They are all going to lose against Pelipper, against Mantine, and against Drifblim. It's a very hard loss against Drifblim because it's ghost and flying type, and with the exception of Toxicroak, they all have some play and they all can win against the Mandibuzz, which is huge considering how a Mandibuzz is going to be important in this meta. With the Blaziken, if you land the Stone Edge, basically you pick up the game. With the Machoke and with the Primeape, there if you land the Nuke, you pick up the matchup as well. Against the ground types, so against Diggersby XL, Diggersby, and Whiscash, here let's say it's a bit more tricky. What do I mean with that? I mean that the XL Diggersby normally, let's say you should be able to pick it with the Toxicroak because it's a ground and normal type, but you will only pick it if you shield correctly the Earthquake, because the XL Diggersby is a lot more bulky to the regular Diggersby, and if he baits you with the Fire Punch and lands the Earthquake, it is going to kill you definitely. You pick Diggersby with Toxicroak and you lose to Whiscash, who just can spam mud bombs at you that are super effective. For Blaziken, it's a bit the same with the, let's say, with the Diggersby XL. I mean, a very high stat product Diggersby is able to flip the matchup if it lands the Earthquake. So you pick the Diggersby normal and you lose against Whiscash for the same reason than Toxicroak with the Mud Bomb. For Machoke will pick the Diggersbys and lose to Whiscash. And here the best fighter, if you are looking for ground coverage, is Primeape, who is able to pick all the three matchups. Against the Dragons, again, something that's going to be very important in this meta. Here, against Zweilous, obviously the fighting types, they are going to be able to pick the Zweilous matchup. Keep in mind that against Dragonair, all the fighters are going to beat Dragonair except Blaziken because of Aqua Tail, and they are all going to lose against the Dragonite because Dragonite is part flying as well, and then resist the counters and fighting type moves. Let's move to the next group. It's going to be the Electrics, and for the Electrics we have Galvantula, Raichu, the Kanto Raichu, and Magneton. So here, how does they do between them? So basically, Galvantula is able to beat Raichu and is going to lose against Magneton, whereas Raichu loses to Galvantula and beats Magneton, and Magneton beats Galvantula but loses to Raichu. So here it's, let's say, a mixed feeling about this. What is the matchup of the electric types against grass types? So against Venusaur and Ferrothorn. So here you see it's let's say each of them has some, you don't have a clear answer. First of all, you have Galvantula. So Galvantula against Venusaur, it's a very close matchup. You need to reach somewhat an attack breakpoint on the Galvantula if you want to pick this matchup, keeping in mind that depending on on charge move timings, the Venusaur could be able to pick the matchup. Against Ferrothorn, it's much more easier because it's a clear win for the Galvantula. Raichu is the one that, let's say, that has less play against the grass type. You lose hardly against Venusaur because he resists everything you can throw at him, so Brick Break, Wild Charge, Thunder Punch. Against the Ferrothorn, it's an Ivy based matchup. I mean, if you have a very high stat Raichu, you can flip the matchup in this regard. And Magneton is able to beat Venusaur, resisting those Sludge Bomb and those Frenzy, and is going to lose against the Ferrothorn on the other end. Against Ice type here, basically they all pick Celio, Lapras and Dugong, and the only close matchup is the Galvantula against the Frostlass, because let's say that Ice stat product Frostlass is able to pick up the Galvantula matchup if he's facing Ice stat Galvantula. So here, let's say that I will not consider Galvantula as a Frostlass counter. That's like my advice here. If we move to the flying type here, obviously the electrics are going to beat all the flying types, so Pelipper, Mantine, Mandibuzz and Drifblim. And when it comes to ground type, obviously ground they should beat electric, and the only one that has some play here, it's Galvantula, who is able, and it's a very close matchup as well based on charge move timings and so on. Galvantula is able to pick up the Whiscash matchup in the one shield. Against the dragons, here basically the electric types, they are going to pick up the Dragonite, because Dragonite is part flying, and Galvantula, thanks to the launch, is able to pick up the Svilus matchup. On the other end, Raichu and Galvantula are going to lose against Dragonair, and Magneton is able to take a very high stat product Dragonair. Otherwise, the Dragonair just will be able to pick up the matchup as well. Last group for today's video, it's going to be the grass types, so Venusaur and Ferrothorn. So the duel between Venusaur and Ferrothorn, it's going to depend on the Ferrothorn moveset. So I assume that Ferrothorn, if it's running, let's say that if Ferrothorn is running Power Whip and Thunder, which is likely the best moveset for this cup, then the Venusaur will be able to beat it. If the Ferrothorn is carrying Flash Cannon, then he's going to be able to beat the Venusaur. So here it's, let's say that the moveset of the Ferrothorn is going to determine who is going to pick up the win, and keep that in mind if you go Ferrothorn in your lineup, and if you need grass coverage, then you should go with the Flash Cannon. Against the ice types here, basically grass types, they are going to beat Celio and Lapras. Against Ferrothorn is going to be able to pick up Dugong as well, because thanks to the steel typing ice moves are just going to do neutral, and Venusaur against Dugong, it's an Ivy based matchup. If the opponent is running a very high stat product Dugong, which is, in my opinion, maybe it's going to depend. I mean, most of the people, they trade for a legacy Dugong, so then they are not running let's say good PvP IVs Dugong, but a very high stat product Dugong is able to flip the matchup against the Venusaur. Otherwise, it's a win for the Venusaur. Frostlass, it's a more tricky matchup, let's say. Obviously, we all know that Venusaur against Frostlass, at least in the lead, because then it changed, but it's an Ivy based matchup, and the one with the higher attack stats is going to win the game. So you just can go straight Frenzy, your opponent is going to go straight Avalanche, the one that is going to win CMP will win the game. So here there is something for you to consider. Maybe run an attack weighted Venusaur if you wanna be sure to beat the Frostlass, and on the other hand maybe run an attack weighted Frostlass to be sure to pick up this matchup. When it comes to Ferrothorn, here as well it's a bit which moveset you are carrying, and if you run Flash Cannon, you are definitely going to catch off guard the Frostlass and to pick up the win. Against flying types, both Venusaur and Ferrothorn, they are going to beat Pelipper. Ferrothorn as well, thanks to with the access with Thunder, is going to be able to pick the Magneton and to pick the Mandibuzz. Both are going to lose to Dribblim, and Venusaur as well obviously is going to lose against the Mandibuzz because even if Sludge Bomb does some nice cheap damage, it's not enough to take down the Mandibuzz. The Magneton matchup is an IV based matchup, and if you are running a very good PvP IV Venusaur, and I assume it could be the case because Venusaur was available during this Kanto tour and then the Kanto event that just followed. So if you have a very good PvP IV Venusaur with Frenzy, obviously you are able to flip the matchup against the Magneton, which in my opinion could be huge in this meta. Against the ground types, here the right choice is Venusaur, because Venusaur is going to be able to beat them all. You beat Diggersby, you beat Whiscash. When it comes to Ferrothorn, clearly you beat, quite frankly, the Whiscash, but you lose against Diggersby because Diggersby is a tank and it can just spam fire punches at you, and even if fire punch from a Diggersby doesn't have stab, it's 4 times effective against the Ferrothorn, so it adds up at some point. Against the dragons here, clearly Venusaur is going to lose against all the dragons. And when it comes to Ferrothorn, Ferrothorn is able to beat the Dragonair, but is going to lose against Vilus and against the Dragonite. And that's all for the first meta deep dive. So I really hope you like this video. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, and to stay tuned as we are going to cover the other main types and main matchups during this week. Bye, students!